Okay, time to talk about the White Lotus Season 3 finale, which has been getting some kind of criticism over just the whole internet and stuff like that. And here's the deal. I can see why. I was not disappointed in the last episode because if you recall my rant on the premiere of Season 3, I thought it was rather boring. But then again, I knew that, hey, this is one of those shows where it just sets up a lot of conflicts to happen. And then eventually you're going to see all these things come to full fruition later. I think a lot of people were just amazed at how sad it was because some of the things that you saw in it, you just didn't really want to see. And I'll get to some of the things about this. The big plot line is, I think, Walton Goggins' plot line, who's, geez, not only on this show, but The Righteous Gemstones and Fallout. Must be a pretty busy actor. But I've said that before. Yeah, but basically he has a chance to take revenge on the guy who killed his father, which is kind of an odd thing to throw in here. It's revenge stories are, well, they never end well. But essentially that, he actually does it. And and then there's the story with the three friends. I think one of them is like an actress or something like that. Not really much happens there. I will have to say, throughout the whole season, I think one of them has an affair, but essentially, like, the other one was going like, oh, you slept with that guy? I wanted to sleep with that guy. And then at the end, they're just sort of like, hey, let's still be friends and stuff like that. I guess that's kind of interesting in little ways. The big plot line with Jason Isaacs' character, where essentially he's plays this businessman who's found out that essentially the dealings he has are, like, when he gets back to the States, he's going to go down hard. He's probably going to go to prison and lose all his money, so his family essentially has nothing. Now, I was actually very surprised that this show kind of went in this direction, but the setup of it was not really very good. But essentially, like, the dad figures, like, well, I'm gone, and my family is not going to survive without their money because that's all they know is their money. And in the meantime, like, he has his two kids and his daughter, and his daughter, like, apparently wants to live at this monastery, but as soon as the other son wants to do it, she just kind of backs out of it. And apparently the daughter spent one night there and just was absolutely hated it and was sad by the fact that, she really couldn't live without these conveniences and stuff like that. Now, I think that this show is making more of a thematic statement than it is making a plot statement. In other words, is the plot taking the back seat to the themes of this show? If so, then the show is propaganda, but I have to say, a lot of the messages that are in The White Lotus, I have to say, are not easy to hear, because The White Lotus is about the 1%, and it is about how the 1% get there, and it's not pretty. And I'm going to be one of those guys that says, I hate to say it, but we are on sort of an eat the rich kind of hype here in this country right now, because we're sick of billionaires making stupid decisions that result in hurting the common people. This has happened time and time again, and now we're seeing it in our current administration. So, what can we do? Well, The White Lotus doesn't really give any answers to these questions. And there's one plot line I really don't hear anybody talk about, but there's this one guy who works at the White Lotus, and usually when we hear him speak, it is actually I'm assuming it's Thai, because they're in Thailand, but yeah, usually whenever he speaks, they kind of do this weird thing with the translations where it's kind of like, they show the language in the background, and they show the English words in front of it. Never really seen anything like that before. I thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, so at some point in time, this guy, this security guard, needs to get a gun because there was a robbery during the White Lotus, which is one of the more exciting scenes in this thing. And as I recall, I actually believe that the robbers were found out, but nothing is really done to them. They don't really get any punishment. This is one of several plot threads that are given out in White Lotus Season 3 and go nowhere. Now, it's possible that the show, because it has lasted for 3 seasons, and it's very popular now, so it'll probably last for at least 6 or something like that. It's not like the show has story arcs that are lasting over the season. However, we did get one this one time. And I'll go back to that one other plot line before, but I feel like I might as well bring this up now. We see a character from season 1 who's, I think, served in, I don't know, the White Lotus in Hawaii, I think it is. And yeah, she was going to go into business with Jennifer Coolidge, character, who, by the way, never showed up in season 3. And then at the last minute, I think Jennifer Coolidge just kind of calls off the deal, and she felt kind of screwed. And then, of course, Jennifer Coolidge ended up missing, and I believe was killed by her husband, who's just a bad guy. And he shows up on this episode, and this guy actually notices the lady who lost out on her business deal and offers her like $100,000. Now that's kind of, it's sort of, even though he doesn't say it, it's essentially hush money. And not only does she take it, but she manages to up it to about $5 million, which is crazy. And her son helps her out on that. And she actually gets away scot-free. And yeah, that's kind of it for that. So the plotline I'm referring to is the one with the guard and the gun. And apparently this guy is very much a pacifist. And you know, he's kind of saying like he probably needs to leave his job because he can't really see himself as being a violent person. And putting a gun in his hand has kind of made him violent. And the thing is, he has like a girlfriend or something like that. And his girlfriend just suddenly becomes very uninterested in him after hearing this. And then at the end of the show, where we see Walton Goggins' character take revenge, and the guy, the security guard, has to use his gun and kill somebody. And it's a tragic killing. I mean, Walton Goggins' girlfriend gets shot, and his girlfriend is a young gal who's just actually really, really likes him, and just kind of like, it's just sad. If he just, I mean, why doesn't he just kind of, I don't know. But yeah, so the security guard manages to shoot this guy, and then we see him with his girlfriend at the end of the show, like they made up, and I'm kind of going like, well, that was it? That was all we're getting there? I mean, I feel like we could have devoted it kind of feels like there's a whole nother episode missing where they kind of wrap up some of these plot lines that probably need to be wrapped up. And I have to say that there's certain things that they show in the White Lotus that, I mean, I think that's the whole point of this show, is that the rich can do things like this and get away with it. And there's this one great line. I can't remember the actress that played Jason Isaacs' wife in this show, but she's sitting there going like, something like, we're the rich people. We have to enjoy the things that we have here now. If we don't enjoy them, then what good is everything? And I kind of thought like, that's a really sick way of looking at this. That it's like, if you're if you're like rich, then you have to maintain this illusion of happiness. Otherwise, it's like you're not really contributing to society. And I looked at that and I went like, that is a really sick thing to say. But this character delivers these lines like pretty well, and I kind of thought like, okay, I can kind of see what you're saying here. So sometimes when you're watching something and you think that you're seeing bad writing, sometimes I think it's deliberately put there. That is, I actually believe that a lot of these things, these plot lines that were left unresolved or that just kind of work themselves out, are actually rather lifelike. And writing something that's really lifelike and interesting is very hard to do because life is pretty boring sometimes. It really is. And yeah, and we have people that do things like this. I think the guy that got his wife shot, or just crazy. I think he's like on to the next. I mean, it's just like, I mean, you show scummy people doing scummy things. I mean, that's crazy. Anyway, I would recommend this season, and I thought that last episode was pretty good, actually. So, Anxious to see what they're going to pull on the season 4 of this.